Hey, gun people. Well, this is probably going my earning the hate for this punk canine cop that wants to beat up on a dog. Look, I worked dogs many years, so I don't want to hear anybody coming here talking about you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. This guy's abusive. This was a bullshit correction. Some canine experts probably going to put some mumbo jumbo on it about how this is a dangerous situation. You don't want your dog. And there was too much time between the correction and what this guy did to this dog. This guy's a bully punk, and he's picking on a dog that can't fight back. And I can't wait till his dog stays in the car when he's getting his ass whipped. Okay, so this is obviously a training. This guy looks all buffed out. He's got a bite suit on. So there's going to be an attack. They've probably done previous attacks. The dog's probably been in the car and seen this guy attack another officer, so he got frustrated. So like all animal problems that are blamed on animals, it usually comes back to people's ignorance when they were training. I've done training like this. I've watched training like this, and I've seen cops not know what the hell they're doing. You don't let your dog sit in a car and watch dogs attack this guy and then expect your dog to stay in until he attacked and he makes a mistake. This dog makes a mistake. The handler corrects him, says no, and the dog lays down. That should have been the end of it. He should have put him back in the car and told him to stay. That should have been it. But this macho pink panty punk wants to impress all his other canine handlers on how tough he is with his dog. Dog listened. He came out inappropriately. He corrected him, and the dog complied. So what does a dog learn? When I listen, my handler chokes me and slams me in the door and freaking hurts me. This guy is a shit handler and a shit person in my book. And if he worked for me, I would have took that freaking dog from him right away and said, do that to me and quit freaking picking on a dog, pussy. And that's exactly what I would. And you ask anybody to talk to me and they would tell you, yeah, Sergeant Gore would have done that. Tough, choking. Dog has no idea what's going on. Why are you hurting me? Why are you think this dog is like, oh, that must be when I came out the car. Of course not. Dog's getting his ass beat by a dumbass who don't know anything about animal behavior, and he's just torturing this freaking dog. He ought to be charged criminally. What a freaking punk.
No witnesses.
Slams him into the car door. Does anybody think this dog is learning anything right now except I have a brutal, sadistic freaking handler? Absolutely outrageous. If somebody did that and they had a concealed permit and turned this thing in, they would probably revoke his license to hold a gun, saying you're mentally unstable. If you can't control yourself to do this to a dog, you don't need to have a gun. But government does this, and this is the guy that they tell us he's had a background. He's the police. He's a hero. You should call him when you need help. You don't need a gun because this good citizen will come save you. Freaking outrageous. Poor dog. Then he's gonna punch him. Oh, dude, I would knock his ass out. Out freaking rageous. And this guy who's wearing a suit, if he's the trainer, he ought to be correcting him. Some supervisor ought to say, dude, you need to calm down. The dog's not connecting it. You made the point. Knock it off. But nobody wants to correct another cop. There's that blue line. We're all so perfect and clean and neat, and we have to protect each other and lie and cover up for each other. So nobody wants to tell someone else when they're being a freaking dick.
Is your camera on?
No, my power's off.
I think mine's on. Hey, you can flip my cameras on.
Oh, now I'll pet you. Now we're friends. Oh, so the dog totally connected. See, this is what happens when you get macho ego ignorance who want to impress anybody about how bad they are because they have a dog. And I had handlers like that. It just drove me nuts. They love to scare people and say, oh, he'll bite you. He's aggressive. Yeah, I have to be really tough and order. He's a hard dog. He'll bite. You know, I'm really strong and great to have this freaking dog. And then they treat the dog like this because they know the dog won't bite them. I know dogs that if this punk would have done this in Korea, those dogs would have chewed his ass up. And believe me, I've been chewed up many times.
Just the front camera. No.
They're more worried about the camera than anything. So here is the news report on this.
Since the police chief wasn't taking questions at today's news conference,
Gee, I wonder why the police chief wouldn't take questions. Because he doesn't have to, because people don't hold him accountable. A government official should not be allowed not to take questions. You work for the people. When the press is there asking you questions, it's a free press. They're supposed to be holding you accountable and reporting to us and getting the truth. And what does the media do? Because they're weak in bed with government, they're just like, oh, he wouldn't answer questions. So, you know, we didn't push the issue.
I reached out to 2 canine experts. They took a look at the video and shared their thoughts. Video emerged showing a Salisbury canine handler scold his dog for exiting the cruiser.
Scold? He beat the shit out of that dog.
But what he did after is now being investigated. It shows the officer clipped the dog's leash onto its collar, swing it over his shoulder before he slammed it into the car and appears to hit the dog. Other officers are heard saying there are no witnesses.
I think this was an example of something that you should not do.
Roy Taylor has been a canine handler for more than 20 years. He's been a police chief in 3 different North Carolina cities.
I mean, he's cutting off that blood supply and air for several seconds. And then by throwing him in the vehicle the way he did, you know, he risked causing some cerebral spine injuries to the dog.
Taylor says there are a number of things to factor into this video. The health of the dog, the price of the dog,
$20,000, $25,000.
and the potential damage to the dog's training.
Now, going forward, the dog's going to have to reconsider whether he gets out of the car at all.
Is your camera on?
In the video, you can hear the other officers ask if their cameras are on,
Hey, you could put my cameras on.
and then request they be turned off. The dog Zool and the officer are separated while an outside agency investigates. Chief Jerry Stokes says the officer's actions might have been part of training tactics.
When a canine is non-compliant with the handler's commands, the handler is trained to correct the dog.
This guy's an idiot. This guy don't know shit. He's reading from a script. He asked some canine dude, hey, man, how do you want me to answer this? Here, man, I'll write it out for you, Chief. Just read this because you're a freaking idiot. And you'll read it thinking it's true, thinking that everybody you're talking to is a freaking idiot, and you're going to try and justify this abuse. What a freaking dumb shit.
But the actions of the handler were not appropriate.
Kyle Hyen, a former police officer who trained dogs for law enforcement agencies, has concerns beyond Zool.
You respond with that much frustration. It just makes you wonder what that officer is going to do in a real life situation.
Chief Stokes would not release that officer's name, nor would he confirm or deny if any other officers are under the microscope. Reporting live in Salisbury, I'm Morgan Francis.
Absolutely ridiculous. This is on Fox 46 Charlotte. They're saying it's in Salisbury. I don't know where it's at, but this cop's a punk. He was wrong. I'm glad at least the two canine guys that talked out about him, you notice they weren't from his agency. They don't have to work with him. They don't have to worry about this guy running around trying to give him a ticket and taking out his wrath on them. This guy's a punk. I hope he gets fired and charged. All right, we'll end that there. Earning the hate. Boys in blue, they're all heroes. We should love them all. They're all great and perfect because the government did backgrounds on them and they give them guns and they're here to help and protect us. Yeah, okay. We'll end that there.